Well, hi everyone, and welcome to another podcast episode here on Purple Chorus. So today's subject is looking at the topic of epilepsy mom. Now, when some people hear the topic epilepsy mom, they might think a mom with epilepsy, or they might think the mom of a child with epilepsy. So, in order to best facilitate that, today I've brought along both sides of that title. So, the mom who's lived with epilepsy for a long time is my wonderful guest, Teri or Teresa. Which would you prefer to be called?
Everybody calls me Teri. It's
Okay, well, then I'll call you Teri as well.
okay.
And the mom of a child with epilepsy is Kelly. So, hi to Kelly.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's a great delight. So, I don't know much about either of your journeys as such. So, I'll start with Kelly. Can you tell me a little bit more about your journey and what support you had at the early stage of diagnosis, if any at all?
So my daughter was born with medically complex issues. She has several underlying issues of hydrocephalus, schizencephaly, different brain malformations. And when she was first born, she was in the NICU for 3 weeks, and we came home. And at 3 months, I noticed seizure activity. And because my brother is also an epileptic and has MS related seizures, I was very familiar with them. So I contacted her team and we went in the following day and had an EEG done, and they confirmed that she had seizure activity.
Mm-hmm.
So we did our first EEG at that time, and they confirmed that she was having over 100 seizures a day. She has absent seizures and drop seizures. And her absent seizures are the ones that are the most common. And that's where she just looks like she blanks out and is daydreaming for, 10 to 14 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But we have experienced where she's had bigger seizures and she's lost consciousness. But for the most part, our journey has been managed through medication. I think that the hardest part of it is like when we do unmedicated EEGs. As I've shared with you, I lost my niece to a seizure. So seeing my child go through that is probably one of the hardest things that I have ever experienced in my life, and not being able to do anything
Yeah.
except, administer rescue med and count breaths and wait precariously until her brain comes back around is just a scary place to be at. So as far as support goes, our neurology team has been amazing. We did move states about 3 years ago, so we changed her complete medical team, and that has been life changing for her and I. As far as support and the different services offered in our state versus where we previously lived are just incredible. So she has thrived under the current medical attention and support that we're getting. And so it's been a great asset to us.
That's brilliant to hear. It's kind of surprising, but not surprising at the same time, how much of a postcode lottery neurology care is. Uh,
Hmm.
Obviously, the care you receive depends largely on who's available to you. But I'm delighted to hear that she's in a better place now than she was before you moved. I know from a personal perspective, when my own epilepsy went completely pear-shaped in 2013, I had to move. I had to change location as well to have access to a better team. So
Yeah.
that is kind of a familiar story. Um, what medication is she on? Um,
Currently, she's on Breovac, which is what we moved from Keppra.
mhm.
We had a lot of behavioral issues with Keppra, so we discontinued Keppra. We were using the B6 and the B12 supplements, but they were making her nauseated,
Ah,
and she was having a lot of vomiting. So I begged to just change the medication. So we used the Breovac, and that's been a great medication for her. It's helped tremendously. We have not seen many breakthroughs at all, where we used to have a lot.
that's great.
That's great.
It is, yeah, excellent. And how has that been? How has this experience overall been for you and within your social circle? Has it impacted your social circle, your ability to have a social circle?
Oh, most definitely.
Mm.
Um, so 2 years or 3 years ago was my 20th high school reunion that I planned myself and curated and got everything together, and we were ready to go. And my daughter had a massive seizure and was in shunt failure and had to go into brain surgery. So I did not get to attend the reunion that I planned, and I heard it was wonderful though. So but unfortunately, that's just an everyday thing. And I believe that I canceled our first meeting just because of difficulties as well. So yeah, it definitely
Don't worry, I
has.
don't hold that against you. But are you also in touch with other moms of children with epilepsy?
Oh, for sure. I feel like that is one of our greatest resources is each other, for support, and as well as knowledge. I have found that other medically touched people are more willing to think outside of the box. We aren't tainted by our egos. So a lot of the times, when it comes to the medical field, if I can't get an answer where I like the answer, I will turn to my mom groups and other medical friends and, seek them out for help, because our greatest resource is each other. And I think that leaning on each other and supporting each other is what gets us through.
It absolutely is. I mean, all three of us will agree to that,
Mhm.
that the way as they say, we are stronger together than on our own. Um, so thank you for that introduction and that update, Kelly. Now, Terry, tell us a bit more about you and your story.
Okay. Well, I was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy when I was 14.
Right.
Um, and that was, I went to take, it was the first day of my freshman year, and woke up with firefighters all around the shower. And um, I had a seizure, and it was, I guess, my first break from grand. At the time, they were called grand mal seizures.
Yeah,
So tonic, clonic,
tonic,
myoclonic.
clonic. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. um, and so that's how I started off high school. I look back on it and I remember, like, when my menstrual cycle started, that I would have, I just called them glitches.
Mhm.
I didn't know what they were. My family thought that I was just waking up too fast.
Mhm.
Um, so no, I mean, I would drop a glass or something, if things would be fuzzy, but nobody knew to look for these things.
Mhm.
I mean, wasn't thought about. And it was only in the 90s, but there was still not a lot of resources out there for my family to even um, even look for. My mom's had, I'm the oldest of five. And at that time, my sister had just been born. My brother, he's almost 2 years younger than me. And so having the pressure of all that, and then I can only imagine what she had to go through when she saw me have the seizure. It's been a rocky road, because it's just now that I've even started in the past 6 years doing a lot more research than what I had. I would just go through the motions, take my medication, didn't realize that there was other medications out there that might be better for me. I was on, they first started me on Depakote. And then by the time I was 18, I was taking 1,800 milligrams twice a day. And it would, and before I went to bed, okay, you have to understand, I was a teenager, and I was a rebellious teenager. So when the bottle said, take before bed, that's what I did. I didn't know that I needed to take it an hour before bed so that it went down. It started to burn a hole in my esophagus. And so, I mean, I've been told by my mom and other once by my grandma that I had said once that I didn't care because I was having a seizure and I didn't know what was happening. I don't remember saying any of that, but being the teenager that I was, as hateful as it makes me at myself and mad at myself for putting my family through that, I, like I said, I don't remember saying those things. But talking to another mom from, this is so interesting to me, because it gives, me hope that other moms don't have to go through what my mom went through. And, still to this day, she has an adult daughter that she can't help. Just like she said, there's nothing that you can do when once, and this was actually only, I think, 6 years ago, I had to go to the emergency room. And I remember the ER doctor saying, well, if you just give her an extra one of her pills, then she'll be okay. And then I remember once waking up from a seizure and somebody's trying to stuff a pill down my throat. And I'm like, no, this is not. But what I remember most now, I have primary generalized epilepsy now. It's just, it's progressed.
Right.
And I take the Vimpat, I take Keppra, and I take Lamictal. So when we talk about the Keppra, yes, I was taking 3,000 milligrams twice a day. And so the emotional roller coaster, and I mean, I would literally be like night and day. Something so small could set me off. And I realized what was going on, and I'm looking at my family, and they didn't say anything to me, so I decided to pull myself away from them. Just pull myself away from everybody, because I didn't want to hurt anybody. And then we started to tweak the medications, increase the Vimpat, decrease the Keppra, stay with the Lamictal. And once we started tweaking those, this past February, I had I told you about the seizure. I fell backwards, hit the hardwood floor, and I fractured my spine. in 3 different spots.
Oh, good
And
gosh.
so it's Kepra for me, it's scary. But right now I'm on I haven't had any seizures. And this is the longest streak that I have gone my whole
Woohoo.
life.
And
Yeah, I know. I'm
how
like
long
all
are you
kinds.
going now? How long are you
Um,
going now?
February 8th, this 2025.
Right, so you've round about 7 months now.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
So
well
I
done. That's
it's
it
I've
is.
never been this far.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, how long has Kelly, has your daughter ever had spells of not having seizures, or is this just a daily event for you, or
So like I said, the Breavact has been an amazing change for us. Since we started using it in November of 2022. Brianna has not had a breakthrough seizure in 21 months now.
Nice.
fantastic? Yeah, really, really great.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Um, so in your case, in the case of finding the right medication for your daughter, how quickly did they find the right dose of the right medication? Because obviously anybody who lives with epilepsy will know that really is a game of chance. And sometimes you can go through a whole raft of different medications and a whole raft of different levels of different medications before you might be lucky enough to find the right one. So how long a game was that for you?
Um, it was probably about a 6 months transition, where we realized that the Keppra was what was causing the behavioral and rage issues that we were receiving. And it was because we had gone up on her Keppra dose. She had had a breakthrough seizure,
Mm-hmm.
and but we had never experienced the rage that we were seeing. So we tried the supplements, but they were making her very sick. So I
Mm-hmm.
reached out to neurology and said, this is we're she's failure to thrive as it is. So we struggle with weight. She has a G tube. So vomiting just makes everything so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to neurology and told them, this isn't a path that's acceptable for us. Like we need to find a different solution. And so they threw a couple different medications at us and said, we can try this one, we can try this one, or we can try this one. So I went through and I researched all three. Breavact seemed to be the most similar to Keppra without the alteration side effects.
Okay.
And it also had no side effects of constipation, which is another thing that we struggle with. So um, so we switched to Breavact, and we did that inpatient. We came off of Keppra within 3 days and then went on Breavact within 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was just because of my anxiety. I didn't want to be home at night with her, with
Mm-hmm.
just my eyes on her, watching her and
Yeah,
miss something.
yeah.
So,
I mean that is a very well-known situation that obviously it does take it out of you as well.
mm,
Um, and that's what I always say to people is that epilepsy is not a one person issue, you know.
it's not,
And it's important that people realize that they think that it's just somebody having a tonic-clonic seizure and that's the end of the story. But of course, the whole reason why I'm here and you're both here as well is to help people understand that actually there's a whole lot more to epilepsy than than that, you know. Um, I know personally when I was trying to find the right level of the right medication for me, it was probably round about the same period, actually, roughly about 6 months. Some of them initially just weren't having any impact whatsoever. I was on these new medications and I was still having seizures. Um, One of them actually gave me excess weight in a
Mm.
very, very short period of time. So I started taking this medication. I basically just ballooned, you
Oh,
know.
wow.
Mm.
Um, and unfortunately, because in most cases, epilepsy nurses are fantastic people, but on this particular occasion, I rang the epilepsy nurse and I said, we need to establish what's going on here. You know, I said, I've started this medication and I'm now huge, basically. And she asked what my age was, which would be uh, 38 or something. Yeah, it would be 38. And she said, oh, well, perhaps it's just middle age spread. And I said, not this quickly, it isn't. You know, I said, genuinely, not this fast. You know, and true enough, it wasn't. You know, uh,
Oh.
but
Yeah.
one of the other things that was the situation for me was not only medication, but also neuropsychological and neuropsychiatric treatment as well. So it was like a three-pronged attack. So
Mhm.
it wasn't trying to fix the whole solution in only one way. Um, and in my case, I was deemed not to be a surgical candidate because I have right frontotemporal lobe epilepsy, and they can see exactly where the seizure manifests, but they can't see where it's coming from. So therefore,
Mm.
surgery
Yep.
is not an option for me. And I was wondering whether or not, in either of your cases, surgical options had been discussed or explored.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the RNS was discussed. But like you said, excuse me, since the um like in the like I'll you'll hear me go back to the 90s a lot because you know that's when all this happened for me. Um, we didn't have support groups back then. Didn't have the RNA, that we didn't have all that. And so when it came out, I was in Chicago Memorial in 2022 and I stayed for a week and for an EEG. And that's when it was discussed. But he told me, um, he said, you are not, you're not going to be able to do anything because we can't see, you're having seizures all the time. You are, he showed me the paper and the spikes and he said your brain is like a volcano. You are constantly having seizures and then it's like they build up and then here comes the
The
lava. Here
eruption.
comes your, yep. And then so he said you're not gonna ever be able to have a surgery. You're always going to have seizures. We don't know what triggered them to begin with. He said, but you are in that 1%, that lucky 1% that will always have seizures at some point. So that like totally broke my heart because I thought that maybe I would have a break.
Mhm.
And it was in 2019 when I had the cluster seizure. I was in a coma. I was in a nursing home. And now I'm still on my way to fighting back to being who I was.
Mhm.
I can't, you know, going from being a full-time worker and taking care of other people to having everybody take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I lost the last bit of hope that I had was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been it quite the journey itself and just dealing with that. So I hope that I'm on a pretty good medication right now, combination right now. I have to watch out for depression because I
Yeah,
can't take antidepressants.
me
So I
neither.
fight.
Me
Yeah,
neither.
it's hard. I
Mhm.
feel sometimes like I drop into this hole and I can't get out,
Mm.
and I don't know how to. I That's another navigational thing I got to do, but
Mm.
I really hope that there is some more research done to where people like us can have surgeries.
Yeah. Hmm. I mean, I was at the International Congress on Epilepsy in Lisbon last week, and one of the options that was discussed there um, was for those who aren't surgical candidates, it's now a procedure which has been studied and tried out where they will inject a gene into the brain of the person who is having the seizures, and that gene is unique to the genetic pattern of that patient. Uh, so it's non-invasive. They don't have to open your head up. Um, even though I said to one of my friends at the time, I said I would be so curious. I said I'll just spend the entire time looking at the screen, thinking, "Wow, is that mine? Wow,
It's
looks amazing."
amazing. On a side note, and Kelly, I don't know if you do or not, but okay, I go through Grey's Anatomy fixations where McDreamy, he's the neurosurgeon and he's doing all this brain mapping and everything. I'm like, man, that would be so awesome. Just to,
Yeah.
but even in these medical shows, sometimes it seems like they only portray seizures as tonic clonic.
Sonic, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And so, but yes, now I has Callie, has your child been able to find out any surgical solutions?
So Bree is missing her corpus callosum. That's her schizencephaly diagnosis. So her seizures are actually caused because she doesn't have that corpus callosum to like mitigate the brain waves in between.
Right.
Um, so she is not a candidate for surgery. There isn't anything that they can do to like mitigate and to make those brain waves connect the way that they should.
Mhm.
They're hopeful that her brain is developing its own connections around and where it should be going so that we aren't having the misfires and discharges, which we've seen less of. We are going to have an EEG done hopefully in December, and we've talked about possibly reducing her medication to see if her seizures are still active.
Mm.
Does that give you some kind, a really hope, but at the same time you're dreading it, being a
I am
mom?
absolutely, I am absolutely dreading it. It's scary. It the safety of the medication and knowing that we're at a good therapeutic level now. We haven't seen anything in almost 2 years, and you get comfortable in that state. And because of her hydrocephalus, I can't ever really get comfortable. So I don't foresee myself like ever settling in and being like, oh, she's completely seizure free. We're good. We're out of the woods.
Mm.
I think that it will always be in the back of my mind, wondering if we're going to see something, when, how. And like you mentioned, puberty kind of kicked yours off. She's only 7.5 at this time, so we don't know what the future holds.
Mm.
It could be that, we may get this good 5, 6 year stretch and then everything breaks loose again. So um, I'm not overly optimistic, but I try to live each day like, it's our last. And we just try to treasure every moment that we have, because when I initially was diagnosed with Brie in utero, they told me that she would not live.
Mm.
So every day that we have with her is a gift, and we just try to make the most of it. And I try to not focus on the what ifs, because in today's day and age, there's a lot of what ifs.
A huge amount of
Yeah.
what. Yeah, it
Yes.
really is. I mean, from your perspective, Kelly, from a musical perspective, there's a lady, a female composer called Dr. Cynthia Folio, who has a daughter who has uh, very active uh, and present epilepsy, and
Mhm.
has a very high number of seizures per day as well. And she actually wrote a piece of music about that experience, called When the Spirit Catches You. And her name's Dr. Cynthia Folio, Doctor of Composition as opposed to medical doctor.
Okay.
And in total, that piece is around about 20 minutes long, something like that. And I got in touch with her when I was first doing my research. And I said, because it also features narration from her daughter on the
Oh,
track as
wow.
well, about what she experiences when the seizures happen. And I asked her, I said, how come a representation of something that will in real time only last maybe either a few seconds or a few minutes is 20 minutes long? And she said, because when you see that happen and you know all the realities and you know all the what ifs, she said, then time doesn't run true. So something that might only last a few seconds might seem like several hours. Uh,
Absolutely. And I've never had a seizure personally, but coming from the mother's perspective, when you're watching your child seizing, and one of the things I did was buy a smartwatch so that I always have, stopwatch with me so that I know when to give emergency medications. And every second feels like an hour.
yes, that's
Every
it.
breath that
Yeah.
you're counting feels like an hour. So
Yeah.
I understand that, where you have 15 seconds of a seizure, it
Mhm.
can feel like days.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so uh, for you, Terry, as a mother with epilepsy, what were the challenges that you faced? Did your epilepsy impact your pregnancy, for example,
Yes.
and your childbirth, etc.?
Yes. Both my children, actually. I got pregnant with my daughter when I was 18. And like I said, I was on Depakote. And so much of it that I was never able to breastfeed because of the medication. Um, they didn't want to, um, they didn't want my kids to have more than what they already had because they were already going to have to go through the withdrawals of having the seizure medications in their systems anyways from me being pregnant.
Yeah.
Taya was born premature, and the Depakote, she didn't have the only side effects that I noticed it was just little skin on her tear ducts,
Mhm.
and and her ears were a little slight, but only I could, and I felt so guilty,
Mhm.
as because I didn't want this to happen to my child. I don't, I watched her in the incubator. and it tore me apart because I felt like it was my fault. And and there was other things. And then with Shane, um, there everything that happened in that time, losing Taya, being pregnant with Shane, the seizures, while I was pregnant, with it's the scariest thing in the world because I went from being the um, the child with epilepsy, and now I'm the mother with epilepsy trying to care for the children.
Yeah.
And my son he learned how to dial 911 at 4 years old. And then being a single mom,
Mhm.
uh, it's scary because I was constantly afraid of having a seizure in
Mhm.
front of anybody, but especially my kid.
Mhm.
Um, and I was lucky enough to find somebody who was not only a great partner, he was my best friend.
Mhm.
And he um, he supported me, he took care of me, he helped me with Shane, helped me with everything, and was always supportive about the epilepsy. He didn't make me feel like I was some kind of freak, you know?
Of course,
And
in actual fact, you're not. You
right,
know.
thank you. But when he passed away, it just made things tougher. And I just went into survival mode, I guess. And I didn't think about nothing.
Mhm.
And just taking care of, trying to take care of my kid the best way that I knew possible may not have been, I'm not ever going to say I'm a trophy mom because I made so many mistakes.
We all do.
But
I was going to
it
say
was,
you're human. You
I
know?
am
Yeah.
I am the big, I overanalyze everything. And, but I must have done something right because my son is 25 years old.
Mhm.
I live with him,
Mhm.
and, and you know that I've had, the knee replacements and the hip replacements and everything, and trying to get back to where I can be able to work again. And he takes care of me.
Mhm.
So, and he supports me with all of my epilepsy awareness things that I do.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's a very trying time. And I
Mhm.
wish that as much as social media has exploded and everything,
Mhm.
and I think that there's hope for this generation more
Mhm.
so because we have wonderful people like you who do this, like
Right.
David Clifford at Brain
Yes.
Ablaze.
Yes.
He brings people together. And there was something that he posted last night that said that, don't quote me on it because I'm horrible at this, but
Mhm.
along the lines of screens may distance us, but they also bring us together.
Yes.
If I never would have gone on that virtual support group, I wouldn't have met you, not, and I
Exactly.
wouldn't have met Kelly.
Yeah.
And this is such an amazing opportunity. And I wish that my mom and
Mhm.
my family would have had these resources when they were faced with epilepsy in their lives.
Mhm.
I think that the um, turnout would have been different,
Mhm.
um, because my grandma, she didn't want to talk about it. I mean, she was one of
Mhm.
those people that you didn't talk about that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, didn't mean she loved me any less,
No.
but it was just something that didn't happen. And then I had other family members tell me that I was possessed. So it was,
Mhm. Yeah, you did tell
um,
me about that.
yeah.
Actually, that does tie in with what I was referring to either earlier, the title of the track, "When the Spirit Catches You," because it comes from the belief of a group called the Hmong people, which is Hmong. uh, and they do believe that seizure is a sign of spiritual possession. Uh, and yes, that does still exist today. And I was quite horrified when you did tell me that the first time. Um, it was quite astonishing. Um, Now, one of the great things that you did tell me the first time we spoke was about a four-legged friend, which is probably currently still at your feet, um, because people will know how incredible seizure dogs are at doing what they do. And you were very kind enough to introduce me to the one who you were hoping to have trained as your seizure dog. So, would you like to introduce Kelly and
I would,
everybody else to
I would love to.
this
Go.
absolutely incredible creature? How about that?
Oh,
Good boy. Good boy. Yes. Yes. Oh gosh. Okay. Okay, happy.
Yeah. So this ball of love is called Beau, is that right?
Yep. His name is Beau Bumpkin Retriever.
Right.
oh,
And
how
he
cute.
is
And
he's in
how
a
old is
coloring.
he?
He just turned a year old in April.
Oh, happy belated
So
birthday. And how's his training going?
well, that takes funding. So it's very expensive to have a seizure and trained. It's about $5,000. Um, and he needs to um, go through some more behavioral training because he's just he's so happy.
Mhm.
And but to me, and from I mean, my sister, my mother, they've all looked into it, and um, it, and I've talked to a couple trainers,
Uh-huh.
and the biggest thing is bonding your with your pet.
Hmm.
And he, the last seizure I had in February, and it was weird because it hadn't been long that I had him. Um, but my son said he didn't leave my side.
Hmm.
And so he's very intuitive. He's sometimes too smart for his own good, but he's very smart, and
Uh-huh.
he's still young enough to where once I'm able to, that
Yeah.
he'll be able to go through training.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also hard for me because he is just so much fun, and it's hard to be that okay, it's time to go to work kind of thing.
Yeah.
And um but he has so much energy too,
Hmm.
so we got to try to balance that out a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
So
would
Kelly,
happy.
recommend it to anyone. Mm.
Kelly, do you have any pets as well, or?
Um, we do not have any pets currently. Bree isn't a huge fan of barking, and unfortunately, she's allergic to cats.
All right.
So
Hmm.
um, we my both her uncle and my mom have a dog that she's around often, but
Hmm.
for right now, we do not have any.
Yeah. It's interesting you say about not being keen on barking. One of the posters in Lisbon last week was talking about the effect of sound uh,
Hmm.
as a potential seizure trigger for some people.
Yeah,
Sometimes it can be like a road digger or the sound of a siren or
Hmm.
a plane going overhead or something like that. That can interfere with people's well-being. Uh, so
Absolutely.
interesting.
yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, on a musical perspective, because obviously I am a composer Um, but for your journey, Kelly, um, are there any songs or pieces of music which you can kind of latch on to when you need affirmation and or strength? Is there a song that you'll play and you'll think, yeah, that?
Well, I have quite a few of those, to be honest. I have an entire playlist that I listen to, like on bad days.
Yeah.
And music is definitely a refuge for me. I think that probably, oh, um, I um, I think that, well, I one of my most favorite albums right now that we've been listening to is actually yours.
Oh,
Um,
thank you very much. That wasn't the cue for you to say that, but
I know.
yeah.
But that's been one of my go-tos right now. But also I Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. That's like my rally song. That is my song that I use to get myself in the frame of mind that we are going to fight through this. We
Yeah,
are going to get through it. We are going to win the day.
yeah.
And, we don't have to win every battle, but we will win the war. So,
Nice.
Perfectly said. Yeah, perfectly said. And what about you, Terry?
I have to agree with Kelly because once you sent me your album, it especially this past week, and I am epilepsy. I don't know, it just clicks that whole album, and I really needed the comfort. I guess you can say the comfort, the um, tranquility is the only word I can come up with right
Mm.
now. And this past week, um, my rally song.
Mm-hmm.
I love music. I mean, jeez, I love music. But um, Boogie Shoes by Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Right?
nice,
Cool. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
I like
I
that.
think at one point I'm going to actually put a compilation, try and put a compilation together of everybody's favorite songs. But one of the interesting things in Lisbon last week was a company called Angelina Pharma, a pharmaceutical company, and
Okay,
they had something there. It was kind of a stand sort of thing, where they were using AI music. And what people did was they chose a genre and they chose epilepsy positive words like seizure freedom, strength, and and things like that. And then they would take a picture as well, and the computer would actually generate an album cover, and it would also generate a song uh, in a matter of seconds in their chosen genre. And I kind of had mixed feelings on that because obviously, as a composer, when AI can turn out a song in about 3 seconds, then that kind of, to a certain extent, undoes what I do. But I
Right.
could understand the benefits of it for people who don't have access to music at all uh, in other ways. Um, so, Terry, I was going to ask you. You said your son is grown up now. Um, did he have support uh, whilst he was growing up? um, from external sources or family sources for being essentially uh, your carer
Right.
and being a child at the same time.
That he had family, um, and we lived in about an hour away from my family, from my mom and my sisters and stuff. So he had Jason's family, but he knew what he was so young, in elementary school, and you know, he told people that I had epilepsy, but a lot of people didn't know what it was. I mean, his
Yeah.
teachers did and stuff. And he had a lot of support from Jason's family, my mom. He knew that he could call her. And then as my sisters got older, um, he could call them. So, but there wasn't a lot of resources like it. Even when my neurologist, I didn't even know about Epilepsy Awareness Month until I was sitting in my neurologist's office in 2018. I didn't even know about it. So then I started looking it up and everything, and that's when my world opened.
Yeah.
But no, there was no seizure first aid. There was no, hey, there's a support group for kids. We didn't have a support group for adults. There was nothing there. And the neurologist I had at the time, he wasn't interested in sharing the knowledge. It was just, so I didn't see him after that, but it was just give me the medication, put the Band-Aid on, let's not try it. That's what we need to do here.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, yeah, stop the seizures, but give me the information too. I didn't know how many different seizures there were.
No.
I just thought I was with the rest of everybody else. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had epilepsy, I had seizures, but I knew nothing about them. And now, since I've always talked about it to where I work and everything, it's not something I've hidden. But it's also not something that the general population knows about me till now. And I'm okay
Yeah.
with that now.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
you have to understand that there are parents that ultimately have fights with their companions, that you custody battles and stuff where they say that the parent with the epilepsy can't have custody of the children. That has happened.
I had a friend go through that.
You've
friend
had
that I went to. Yes. Yep. I have a friend that has 3 children that she is not allowed to have full custody of because of her seizures.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter. And it's such a fight. It wasn't, nobody ever tried to take Shane away from me or anything. But I've seen it, and it breaks my heart that this person didn't have the support that they needed. And now it's, you have to jump through hoops through the legal system to now get there. And one of my, I wanted to take my my niece and nephews. My brother was, that's a whole nother story, but ultimately it was because of my seizures that I wasn't able to foster them. Also, it was, that decision was made back in March. I'm not even a candidate anymore and it broke my heart. Absolutely broke my heart, because now there's no aunt laws. There's nothing that says that now that I'm not a candidate for fostering them, that now I can't see them because my brother's mad at me. But that's, that's, like I said, a whole nother discussion. It's just something that needs to come to light. I really do. I think that people with epilepsy need support in the legal system as well.
Yes, very, very much so. Yeah.
So that, I mean, I know this is off topic. It just kind of came up, but yeah, it's a struggle. My son is now his boss, actually is his boss's mother has epilepsy as well.
Mm.
So he gets support there too. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad for it. He
That's
sat in my support group with me when nobody showed up, but he sat there with me the whole time.
Brilliant.
And yeah, and I'm lucky enough, my sister is there for me. Um, my mom has been at the emergency room,
Yeah.
and my biggest thing, and Kelly, I wish you that I pray for you and your daughter and your family. I'm so glad that you have all the have hope and everything, and I have hope for you. And I'm not going to start crying. I'm not. um, my biggest thing was when I would come out of my seizures and I would see the fear
Yeah.
on all their faces.
Yeah.
The and me not remembering. I mean, my memory is horrible.
Mm.
And I didn't remember my son. I lost 20 years of memories. And
That actually, something very, very similar happened to me in 2013. I had a breakdown. I had a nervous breakdown. And what happened as a result of that nervous breakdown was there were periods of long-term and short-term memory that just vanished. So people would say, "Oh, do you remember going here?" Or "Do you remember when we did that?" And I was like, "No." Uh, and then people would phone and they would say, "Oh, I'm just ringing you back." I was ringing me back. I don't have any recollection of having rung you in the first place. So yes, memory is definitely very closely attached to the experience of seizure.
yeah,
Um, and that would be a whole separate podcast in itself, as epilepsy and memory. Um, so as we're on the cusp of pressing stop for this recording, Kelly, what would be your message to other moms of children with epilepsy out there?
um, I would say to focus on today
Mhm.
and focus on your hope,
Mhm.
and to lean on those, that support you and that love you,
Mhm.
because life is hard enough. Epilepsy adds an added wrench.
Mhm.
And the one thing that, we want to deliver to everyone is kindness,
Mhm.
and support, and that, we don't ever want anyone in this community to feel alone. I've had a lot of new moms reach out to me when their kids are diagnosed, and that's such an honor, to be someone that, somebody else feels comfortable reaching out to. So definitely lean on those around you, and know that this community is vast and wide, and we're only getting bigger.
Exactly. And
mhm.
Terry, what would you say to other moms who have epilepsy?
Never give up. Never, keep fighting for your kids. Um, and Kelly, you're an inspiration. I'm so, so happy for you that moms feel comfortable, and you seem like a wonderful person. Absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. Um, I would have to say that keep spreading awareness, keep spreading your story as a mom, and spread like sharing your story. I've found is the best way to reach out, and I hope that all the moms listen to this and look for support groups, look for resources. Don't keep yourself boxed up, because all communication is the key. If your child looks at you and doesn't know you, give them the time, and just be loving and hopeful, and pray. And like she said, live every day as if it's your last.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect note to end on. So thank you hugely to Teri and Kelly. It's been a great privilege having you both on. And I look forward very much to the next time we all speak as well. So thank you.